This is an almost 38-year-old missing persons case that needs to be solved. In December of 1985, Jeffrey Lynn Smith was 16 years old. Now, I know whenever I first saw Jeffrey Lynn Smith's case, I was like, Jeffrey, that is such an odd name for a girl. And that's just my opinion. But I looked it up and she was actually named Jeffrey because her mom had been a housekeeper for the Clinton family. And that's Clinton as in Bill Clinton, the former president. Bill Clinton's stepfather's name was Jeffrey Dwyer, and that is who Jeffrey Lynn Smith was named after. And I think that that's awesome. But Jeffrey Lynn Smith actually went by Lynn, so I'm going to call her Lynn. Lynn turned 16 in October of that year, so she was a pretty young 16. Lynn's mother got her a ring for her birthday this year, and according to Lynn's sister, Lisa, Lynn adored this ring. It was a gold ring with an opal. The disappearance of Lynn Smith happened on December 4th, 1985. Lynn was walking home from school with a friend of hers and her boyfriend. The friend that Lynn was walking with that day's name was Lisa, and the boyfriend's name was Frank Hanna. Lisa has been the family member really to advocate for Lynn's case because Lynn's parents have just been so distraught even after all this time by her disappearance. So Lynn is the one that advocates publicly for Lynn, and Lisa has said that Lynn's boyfriend Frank had been aggressive with her in the past. Because of this aggressiveness or abusiveness that Frank had demonstrated, Lynn actually wanted to break up with Frank. But on December 4th, 1985, Lynn was walking home with her friend and with Frank. Now, the friend split off from Frank and Lynn because her home was in a different direction. So they walked a little while together. Then the friend went her own direction, and Frank and Lynn continued toward their houses. According to Frank, he separated from Lynn 3 blocks from Lynn's home, but Lynn never made it home. Now, what could have happened to Lynn in those 3 blocks before she arrived home? I don't know. Surely Lynn's mother was incredibly worried when Lynn didn't make it home from school that day, but she gave her until her curfew time to come home. Now, when Lynn didn't come home for her curfew, then the family really knew that something was wrong because Lynn never missed her curfew. According to Lisa, the family did contact police, but with Lynn being 16 years old, the police handled it as a runaway case, and they really weren't that concerned about it, even though Lynn had never run away before, and her family never thought for 1 second that it was that she just ran away from home. And I don't think that anybody would argue that the police treating the case like a runaway case to begin with allowed for valuable time to be lost in recovering Lynn, finding out what happened to her, or even the ability to maintain and locate any sort of evidence in the case. According to Lynn's sister, Lisa, not only did police mishandle the case at the beginning because they treated it like a runaway case, but they also mishandled the family and did things like calling the family to say that they had information about the disappearance of Lynn just to get the family down to the police station and arrest Lynn's father for a warrant that he had, a traffic warrant at that. So it wasn't even anything serious, and certainly could have waited until, some time had gone by after his daughter disappeared. At some point, obviously, police did start taking Lynn's disappearance as a more serious case. They started handling it as though something had possibly happened to Lynn instead of insisting that she ran away from home. 3 weeks after Lynn's disappearance, the ring that Lynn was gifted for her 16th birthday was found at a pawn shop. Now, I don't think that the family really knows who pawned this ring, but they strongly believe that the person that pawned the ring was Frank Hanna. And again, I haven't seen any definitive proof. Maybe they do know, but in all the articles that I have seen, it just says that they believe that Frank is the one to have pawned the ring. But obviously someone took Lynn's ring from her and pawned it. And her family is very clear she would have never taken it off. In the early days of Lynn's disappearance, Frank did help the family in searching for Lynn, and he was interviewed by police. But according to Lisa, Lynn's family was there at the time that Frank Hanna was being interviewed, and they sat across the hallway and watched the investigator stand in the doorway and ask Frank a couple of questions before letting him go. And the family said that Frank was at the police station being questioned for like 5 minutes before he got to leave. It is clear that Lynn's family believes that Frank Hanna had something to do with Lynn's disappearance. And while Frank says that he walked Lynn home and only separated with her 3 blocks from her home, I don't see anything that really says for sure that that's what happened. So there was a lot of time and distance there that he could have done anything with her. But is he the one that did something with her? Is it someone else who in those last 3 blocks kidnapped Lynn? I couldn't say for sure. Police have said that they do have a person of interest in this case, but obviously they don't have enough to make an arrest, or they would have done that already. Now, Lisa has said that her fear is that because so many years have passed since Lynn's disappearance, that obviously witnesses in the case that have information are getting significantly older, memories have faded, and yet no justice has been served in Lynn's case. Now, I know that someone out there has information about this case, whether it's that they saw something happen on December 4th, 1985, or they have been told information by either the person who did something to Lynn or by someone who, had another piece of information. But it's time for you to contact the police and tell them what you know. It is unfair to Lynn's family that so much time has gone by. I mean, a lifetime has gone by and still they don't know what happened to their daughter. They don't know what happened to their sister. It's just wrong. Eventually in life, you have to stand up for what you think is right and what you would want someone to do for you. Would you want to spend all of this time not knowing what happened to a loved one of yours? I doubt that you would. So if you have information, please come forward in this case. Now, I do want to share a blog post that was written by Lynn's sister. December 4th, 1985, the town of Hot Springs was decorated for the Christmas season. The smell of fresh pine and wood-burning fireplaces filled the air. The usual bustle of holiday shoppers and kids lined up for the yearly pictures with the jolly old fellow was happening everywhere. It was a joyous time for most. On the side of town we called home, fear and uncertainty had consumed the holiday spirit. I remember getting the call from my mom. She was crying so hard to the point of being almost inaudible. Through the crackling of her voice, I heard the words that no one would ever want to hear. Lynn did not come home last night. Writing these words gives me the same sick, numb feeling that I felt nearly 32 years ago. It was the first time that Lynn had ever missed a curfew, let alone not come home at all. Both of our guts were screaming loudly that something was wrong. One day turned into weeks. The missing persons report had been filled out. We were out every night searching for Lynn. We retraced her steps that night 1,000 times. Her boyfriend Frank was the last person to see Lynn. They were walking home from school together and had parted ways with Lynn's friend Lisa. Frank stayed steadfast by our side during the initial searches. We would pick him up and we would all ride around together looking for Lynn. Then one day, my mom and stepfather got a call. The police told them that a local pawnshop had a ring that they believed belonged to Lynn. It was Lynn's ring that she had received for her birthday. Like many families of missing people, we did not feel as if we got the support of law enforcement during that time. Rather than having a thorough investigation, we had to resort to visiting psychics and questioning people on our own. The contrast of the joyous holiday happenings and us wandering aimlessly in emotional pain made me feel as if I was having an out-of-body experience. This can't be happening. Please, somebody pitch me so that I can wake up from this nightmare. I want to wake up to see Lynn sleeping across from me and smell aromas of Christmas dinner. Every night I went to sleep crying with other cries from other rooms as the background noise. There was no Christmas music. There was no watching a Charlie Brown Christmas that year. It's been nearly 32 years since Lynn went missing. December is always a month that brings sadness for us. The feelings are hard to overcome no matter how much we try to do Christmassy things. My mom's pain floats around her like a thick fog. It's visible. Lynn is not here to enjoy the season with us, so it will never feel right. The best thing we can do is good things in Lynn's name during this time. We have started a tradition of handing out 16 Lynn bags to homeless and others in need. We take a gallon-sized baggie and put socks, gloves, a toothbrush, jerky, and other food items in them. We then toss in a crisp $5 bill and a note with an inspirational quote and Lynn's poster to round out the package. To see the light in people's eyes when we hand the bags to them brings Lynn back to life in those moments. There is not a day that goes by that we don't think of Lynn. My mom, brother, and I will never lose hope of finding her one day. If you have information about the disappearance of Jeffrey Lynn Smith, please contact the Hot Springs Police Department, 501-321-6789. Jeffrey Lynn Smith, who goes by Lynn Smith, was last seen December 4th, 1985 in Hot Springs, Arkansas. Lynn would now be 54 years old. When Lynn was last seen, she was wearing pink pants, a brown jacket, and tan shoes. She is 5'3", and when she was last seen, she weighed around 110 pounds. Now, Lynn Smith has both ears pierced, and she has a mole on the right side of her chin. Again, if you have any information in the disappearance of Jeffrey Lynn Smith, you are asked to reach out to the Hot Springs Police Department. That number is 501-321-6789. Thank you for watching this video. Please remember to like, subscribe, and share.